You know how much I like to criticize teachers, right? No? Well, I do. Now you know how all teachers are like, oxygen is depleting and we're all gonna die. Wrong. It would take approximately 630,000 years before the oxygen's levels would be significantly depleted. Okay, you may think that I'm overboarding, but I'm really not. The whole thing about global warming is about carbon dioxide and not oxygen. There is a common belief that planets such as in Star Wars cannot exist, cause on some planets there is no plants, but there is still breathable atmosphere. Keep in mind that everything in this video is just speculation and I'm not a scientist. Also, I'm too lazy to do some real research, so keep in mind that this video is made in one evening. In every case, numbers are so huge that I could be wrong by a lot and planets like Geonosis would still be breathable. In the Star Wars galaxy, we encounter a vast array of planets, each with its own unique characteristics. While some worlds may lack lush forests and abundant plant life, their atmospheres remain breathable. But how is that possible? First, let's address the longevity of breathable atmospheres. In Star Wars lore, we find that oxygen levels remain stable due to a variety of factors. Even if oxygen production depleted, it would take thousands of years to significantly deplete the available oxygen in the air. If all organisms stopped producing oxygen on a planet like Naboo, it would still take millions of years before the oxygen would run out. Now look, it's a lot more complex than that. We need to include the drop of atmospheric pressure, increased amounts of nitrogen and all this kind of stuff, but ultimately Naboo should survive at least a few million years. Now of course there are plants on Naboo, lots of them, so yeah. Okay, so oxygen shouldn't be a problem, but what about carbon dioxide? Well, there is a technology called atmospheric dampers. These devices play a crucial role in maintaining the balance of breathable atmospheres on certain planets. Atmospheric dampers regulate the atmospheric composition, ensuring a suitable oxygen concentration for sentient beings to survive comfortably. Coruscant had thousands of them. Atmospheric dampers didn't bother with oxygen too much, cause like I said, the main problem with global warming is carbon dioxide production. So atmospheric dampers remove CO2 from the atmosphere. These devices, often integrated into settlements and even starships, continuously monitor and adjust the oxygen levels. So not just that oxygen levels could be more or less maintained without plants, but atmospheres rich with oxygen could be generated with oxygen generators. These systems would extract and replenish oxygen as needed, maintaining the delicate balance of life-sustaining gases. Okay, but that still doesn't answer the question, why is every single planet breathable? Well, because it isn't. There are trillions of planets in Star Wars galaxy, so why do we see Tatooine in every single movie? Well, cause it's fan favorite, but also cause among the trillions of planets in the galaxy, there were just a few million that had a climate, atmosphere and pressure and other stuff for most of the humanoid species to survive on them. Okay, but that is not enough. Planets like Mustafar don't need breathable atmosphere, so where did they get oxygen? Okay, I feel you, just allow me to explain, okay? You see, there is around 5 types of weird life-sustaining planets in Star Wars. That would be 1. Desert planets, 2. Icy planets, 3. Volcanic planets, 4. Econopolises, and 5. Other weird shit that we won't go into today. Okay, so first, how did the desert planets get the atmosphere? Did they use oxygen generator? Well, sometimes, but not really. Most of the desert planets had the same story. They are beautiful giant oceans that get destroyed, you know what I mean. So algae actually make a big portion of oxygen on our planet. You thought that trees are the main bosses? Yeah, forget it. Basically, the giant oceans and the algae in them made breathable atmosphere. Then usually the planet overheated and the oceans disappeared, leaving behind a breathable atmosphere. Now what about carbon dioxide? Well, usually atmospheric dampers weren't present on planets like Geonosis, but it doesn't matter, at least not yet. Considering that desert planets have pretty low population, like Tatooine has, I believe, around 200,000 people, I believe, it's clear that breathable air wasn't a problem. Furthermore, they are desert planets. It's possible that carbon dioxide on them is too big, and that could heat them up even more, right? Next, we have icy planets. Now, icy planets usually have the same story as desert planets. Just like desert planets, they were usually giant oceans. The only difference between icy planets and desert planets is that their temperatures decrease so much that the ocean froze. And as there is usually very little, if any, life on them, their atmosphere is even more preserved than the one on desert planets. Of course, this is very generally speaking. Some planets are very freaky and special, but most of them have a similar story to this one. Moving on, we have volcanic planets. Now note that the desert, icy and volcanic planets that I'm talking about in this video are the ones that have breathable atmospheres. These are the ones that had life in the past, but from one reason or another lost it. There are of course planets like Mars in Star Wars that are desert planets but do not have breathable atmosphere. So volcanic planets that are breathable, which is not a lot of them, usually went throughout some really huge environmental disasters. The most famous example is of course Mustafar. It was a beautiful planet just a few thousand years before the Battle of Yavin, but Sid wanted to destroy that planet because it was an important planet to the Jedi, and so climatic battle took place on the planet. This battle was so intense that one of the nearby gas giants was pulled into its current location by the Force, starting the gravitation tug of war. The environmental hazards caused by this forced the Jedi to abandon their temples on the planet, and a few thousand years later the planet has basically no life. Of course, the gas produced by volcanoes did damage the atmosphere, so the atmosphere was probably not breathable anymore after a few thousand years, but at the time of Obi-Wan's and Anakin's duel, the planet was still alright. Separatist leaders were actually inside because although the atmosphere was still somewhat breathable, it wasn't the healthiest thing. The atmosphere of Mustafar was described as Type 2 atmosphere.
Breath mask is suggested but not needed.
Okay, the last planets that somehow have a breathable atmosphere are Econopolises. Now on these planets, it's possible that oxygen depletion could become a big problem pretty quickly actually. As I already said in my past videos, Coruscant had a population of a few trillion, which does mean that oxygen would deplete pretty quickly. And a lot bigger problem is actually the massive production of CO2 on the planet. So this kind of planets needed to constantly resupply oxygen with oxygen generators or with other technology and eliminate carbon dioxide with the atmospheric dampers. Still, many Econopolis planets had poison gases concentrated near the floor. That's why Coruscant's low levels weren't populated, and this could also be the reason for Coruscant's relatively low population. That's another reason. If you want more reasons why Coruscant's population was so low, go watch my other video. But yeah, that's it for today, I guess. So it's kinda always the same, more or less. All these planets that have breathable atmospheres were once full of life, and then they were destroyed somehow and the atmosphere stayed. But yeah, that's actually pretty possible. I don't know why people have problems with it. Completely possible if you ask me. But hey, you don't need to listen to me, of course. So yeah, tell me in the comments if you believe that this is possible. It is, by the way. And maybe subscribe for more videos like this. See ya.